Hello grade 9s, my name is Natasha Barton and today I would like to welcome you to what I would like to call the bonus video, because in this video we are going to look at what we call the sign change rule and grouping, which are two concepts that are not often tested in grade 9 but may come up. And of course, even if they don't come up during your grade 9 year, they may come up in grade 10. So if you know these rules now, they will definitely help you in the future. Let's hop into the first problem. The first problem says factorize x multiplied by a minus b minus y multiplied by b minus a. Now you might notice that there are similarities between what's inside of the brackets. In the first bracket, we have an A, and in the second bracket, we also have an A, except that that A has a negative sign. In the first bracket, we have a B, but that B is a negative B, while in the second bracket, we have a positive B. So we do have something similar, but not exactly the same. And our aim is to make what's contained in the brackets to be exactly the same so that we can factorize out the bracket. So how about we start off by swapping around what's contained in the second bracket, so that instead of having b minus a, we now have minus a or negative a plus b. Notice that I've kept the negative on the a because the negative belongs to the a while the b remains positive. Now what we need to do is we need to get those signs to change so that the signs on the A and the B in the second bracket is exactly as those in the first bracket. The way we're going to do so is by applying what we call the sign change rule, which in other words simply means we're going to factorize out the negative sign. So the first bracket or the first term remains exactly the same. But now we're going to factorize out a negative. When we do so, that negative y on the outside is multiplied by a negative sign or a negative 1. Negative times negative becomes positive, so we end up with a positive y. And when we factorize out the negative, it basically means that we are taking each term inside the brackets and we are dividing it by by negative. So we say negative a divided by negative and we end up with positive a. And we say positive b divided by negative and we end up with negative b. Now you will notice that what's contained in the brackets is exactly the same. So we now have a highest common factor of a minus b. And we then write the leftovers in our second bracket, that is x plus y. And in writing this down, we have completed this problem and factorized successfully. We are now on the last problem contained in this video, and I would like to point out at this point that the technique we're going to start off by using, which we refer to as grouping, is often only taught in grade 10 for the first time. So if your teacher has not taught you grouping in grade 9, don't worry about it too much, but always remember that if you know more, you may have an even better foundation for grade 10. So continue to watch the video as it may benefit you in the future. This problem reads, factorize 7x to the power of 3 minus 21x plus 2x to the power of 2y minus 6y. Whenever we factorize grade 9s, we start off by looking for a highest common factor. But if you look at these four terms, you will find that there is no highest common factor that all four of these terms can be divided by. So we will not start off by taking out the highest common factor. We check to see if we have a difference of two squares or a trinomial. And since we neither have a binomial nor a trinomial, it means that we will probably have to use a special technique here. And that special technique is called grouping. And it literally means that we are going to take terms that look similar and have something similar about them together, and then we will factorize further. The thing that they will have similar about them is what we refer to as a highest common factor. Now, if you look at the first two terms, 7x to the power of 3 and negative 21x, you will realize both of the coefficients are divisible by 7. Both of the terms contain the variable x, so x is common, and therefore we most probably have, of course, a highest common factor. So we take those two terms and we write them out in a set of brackets. We group those terms together. Now we will write out a plus sign, and we will then take the last two terms, which also have something common about them, together in a second set of brackets. Now that positive sign on the positive 2x squared y does nothing for the expression. And what I mean by that, grade 9s, is if I take that sign away, we still have positive 2x squared y. So please be very, very careful. I am doing this because it looks better, allows us to see things more clearly. But remember that if you just make a negative sign disappear, then you are turning a term from being negative to being positive. So please do not just make signs disappear. I have done this only because it does not change anything. Now that we have grouped similar terms together, we can start to factorize what is contained in each set of brackets. If we look at the first set of brackets, again we have that the highest common factor of the coefficients is 7. We see that there is a common variable called x, and its lowest exponent is 1. Therefore, the highest common factor there is 7x. Once we have identified the highest common factor, we take the first term and divide it by the highest common factor, and we write out the answer we obtain, which is x to the power of 2. We take the second term, negative 21x, and we divide it by the highest common factor, and we end up with negative 3. If at this point you have no clue what I am doing, if you do not know how to identify a highest common factor or how to divide terms by a highest common factor, I do suggest that you go back and watch the video on highest common factor and how to identify and factorize by making use of it. Now that we have taken out that highest common factor for the first set of brackets, we can move on to the second set of brackets. Now, if you look at those coefficients, we find that there is a highest common factor of 2 amongst them. We see that the terms do not both contain x, only the first term contains an x, but both terms have y as one of their variables, and the lowest exponent on y is 1. So therefore, we have a highest common factor, and that highest common factor is positive 2y. That positive is very, very important because it separates the two terms. So please, please, please do not leave that out. So now we take the first term in that set of brackets and we divide it by the highest common factor, which is 2y. And we end up with x to the power of 2. We take the second term, negative 6y, and we divide it by the highest common factor, and we are left with negative 3. We write that in a set of brackets. So now we have successfully taken the highest common factor out of each set of brackets. Now, grade 9s, I want you to take a look at that expression and notice that there is something common between the first term and the second term. Look carefully at those brackets. Can you see that they both contain an x squared minus 3? Whenever you have something common, whenever you have something similar, it indicates that you most probably have a highest common factor. So there is again a highest common factor, and here that highest common factor is x squared minus 3. So we write out x squared minus 3 in a set of brackets. We then take the first term and divide it by x squared minus 3, and we take the second term and divide it by x squared minus 3. We are then left with the leftovers, which are 7x plus 2y, and we write that out in the second set of brackets. Now, please, grade 9s, remember, you don't ever assume that you are done. You always use mathematical reasoning to check, have I finished factorizing? Is there anything more that I can do? Is there again a highest common factor? Is there perhaps a difference of two squares or a trinomial? And since we have none of these things, we know that we have factorized successfully. Grade 9s, I would like to thank you so much for joining me in this video and all of the other videos that you have watched so far. Remember that there is a worksheet and a memo that you can download on the Junior Techie website. So please be sure to download those tools and to use them, because practice does make perfect. Good luck for any tests, homework, or assignments that you may have coming up. I hope to see you in any other videos that you will find on the Junior Techie website.